Alright, hello everyone. Today Kai and I will be informing you on an article that we have found in relation to genetics. So firstly, title and info. The title of the article that we chose is How Cloning Could Change Farming. We found this article on the ABC News America website. The article is written by Jennifer Mitchell, who is a writer based in Chicago. Before we delve deeper into this article, I wanted to first define a few key terms that I found in the article. So over here, we have the definitions. So firstly, we've got genetic line, which is a line of descendants in which each generation is descended from and related to the previous generation. Alright, secondly, we have insemination, which means to sow a seed into or to germinate. And then thirdly, we have embryo, which is an egg, or cloning. So cloning is when a cell product or organism is genetically identical to the unit of individual from which it was derived from. Alright, so the science contained within the topic. So cloning is a subtopic under the genetics unit. To make cloning possible, scientists have to tamper and experiment with an animal's DNA, which is where they aim to recreate the animal's genes and maintain the same genetic line. So next, why are the discoveries important? So firstly, farmers could raise cloned animals to supply organs which we can transplant into humans or animals. A rancher could make the genes from a prized bull live forever, reproducing the animal's invaluable genetic line over and over. We could also have abundant sources of animal products and save certain animals from extinction. I'll talk more about the benefits of this discovery in the positive and negative section.
The process of cloning goes like this. Firstly, a holding pipette gently sucks on an egg, which is covered by a membrane called a zona. The pipette drills a hole into the zona, and later it sucks the original nucleus out, and then they replace it with another nucleus, usually taken from an animal's ear, putting it into the unfertilized egg. That egg, containing the genetic material of the original animal, hopefully develops into an embryo. This process is known as nuclear transfer cloning.
Infusion uses this process known as nuclear transfer cloning. And many people have claimed that they have developed and patented a system that is superior to other methods. They boast a 17% success rate and say that the animals that do come to term are healthy and show no signs of abnormality. Alright, so the positives and negatives. So some positive arguments are that firstly, we could save endangered species of animals from extinction through cloning, such as white tigers or orangutans who are being hunted into extinction. Secondly, we could perform organ transplants to save injured animals. Thirdly, we could breed bigger, stronger, meatier farm animals for working or for human consumption. And fourth, animal products could be more consistent and maybe free from diseases if we breed normally from germ-resistant breeds or certain breeds of animals. Cut. Negative arguments. Some negative arguments for the cloning of farm animals are: firstly, animals endure great suffering during the process of cloning. Secondly, genetic diversity suffers if a large number of carbon copies of one animal is cloned and produced. Thirdly, humans might not be yet ready for cloning, because currently governments and companies are diverting millions of dollars into the research and testing of cloning, which means that no one has really patented and found out one method for cloning. Thirdly, where do we draw the line of cloning? If it's acceptable to clone animals, we will soon basically clone humans. Fourth, research and testing costs a lot of money, and it might be an unnecessary strain on the economy of a country, even though the research might be funded by the government. And lastly, animals who are offspring from cloning usually live a short lifespan due to body complications from the process of cloning.
Cloning is a controversial topic that affects and interests many different types of people. Because cloning has both negative and positive sides, there's a line drawn between the views of cloning among the people. Although there's no clear cut between the opinions on cloning animals, more people have disapproved of cloning animals in America, Europe, and other countries. According to statistics, Americans overwhelmingly disapprove of animal cloning. This opposition transcends most demographic categories and extends worldwide. Survey results on the subject are remarkably consistent, despite the appeal of science. The major demographic category affected by the introduction of cloning agricultural animals into society would be the common people, because cloned agricultural animals would be used mainly for food sources. Everyone that consumes dairy, meat, fish products would be affected. In a February 2001 Time CNN poll, 67% of Americans said cloning agricultural animals was a bad idea. Similarly, in the May 2001 poll by Gallup organization found that 64% of Americans want to ban animal cloning and demolish any research conducted in relation to animal cloning.
In this picture, a question was asked: is it a good idea to clone animals such as sheep? 37% of males said yes, while only 20% of women said yes. Another question was asked: will cloning help solve some of the problems that the world faces? 31% of males said yes, while only 17% of women said yes.
In Europe, a survey for the question animal cloning was carried out between 3rd and 7th of July 2008. Over 25,000 randomly selected citizens aged 15 years and above were interviewed in these 27 European member states. All these people's occupation, residential areas were recorded. The results of both continents' views were similar. However, there was a drastic change between the amount of people that disapproved. Faced with several statements regarding the ethics of animal cloning, EU citizens were significantly less willing to accept animal cloning for food production purposes. 58% said that such cloning should never be justified. 3/4 of the interviewees also agreed that there could be ethical grounds for rejecting animal cloning. And 69% said that animal cloning would risk treating animals as creatures without feelings. 38% of the respondents answered that none of the potential benefits presented to them, health or economic, would be justified breeding cloned animals for food production. Women in these European countries, similar to America, were more inclined to agree with the statement that animal cloning would be morally wrong, 67% versus the 55% for males, and that animal cloning would cause animals unnecessary pain, suffering, and distress, 47% for women and 35% for males. Similar observations could be made when comparing rural residents and city dwellers. Respondents living in rural areas were most liable to agree that animal cloning would be morally wrong and would cause animals unnecessary pain, while respondents living in the urban areas were least likely to agree with these statements. 2/3 of the rural residents agreed that animal cloning would be morally wrong, compared to 6 out of 10 urban residents, and 57% of those living in urban areas. Here's a small recap of what cloning is. Cloning is defined as using the cells of one living subject, plant or animal, to create another duplicate subject. A cloned subject will be identical to its parent. Cloning has become the center of the huge debate over the disadvantages and advantages of producing clones, especially of animals and humans. While this technology could be useful for laboratory studies and for creating a desirable livestock, there are several concerns relating to health, legal, economic, social, and ethical aspects on cloning that should be considered. One of the biggest disadvantages of cloning is that the technology is so uncertain. Dolly a sheep, the first clone, was born in 1996. While she was initially successful, she died young of a disease not normally seen in sheep of her age. Scientists are still unsure of any genetic mutations that might occur when an animal is cloned. Also, while Dolly was a successful clone, there were hundreds of failed clones before she was made, including several dead fetuses. Other cloned animals have turned out horribly deformed. Losing gene diversity is also of the disadvantages of cloning. Gene diversity is what keeps an entire species from being wiped out by a singular virus. if none of them have natural immunities. This is due to a lack of gene diversity. Gene mutation happens naturally and helps explain why some people naturally grow taller, shorter, more athletic than others. Some people and animals naturally have a stronger immunity. If gene diversity is lost due to excessive cloning, there are known mutations that allow some cloned groups to survive a newly introduced disease. Another disadvantage of cloning is that there are many ethical considerations that could cause many people to protest, such as playing God, So another concern is the treatment of clones. Clones would have the same needs as non-clones of the species. Humane treatment guidelines would have to apply. There's also a risk of cloning technology being abused. One of the main disadvantages of cloning is that the technology would have to be kept closely monitored. For example, imagine what a corrupt dictator could do with cloning. They will always be looking to use cloning for their personal use. And many feel that the best way to prevent this is to not pursue cloning at all. There's also a monetary economic concern. The research, equipment, knowledge, and facilities that are needed to clone and further research cloning animals is extremely costly. This has been a large hurdle for the medical and scientific communities to jump over. The fundings, in many situations, is simply not there. Even if the clone is successful, the fund for the previous failures isn't substantial. What more, cloning agriculture animals for our food resources might be unsafe. This is the main argument that affects the most people and is first thought of. Animals might have a disease that makes it unedible after it's cloned, and many other issues might arise in the cloning process. 67% of Americans disapprove of cloning animals for food. Numerous dairies, organic food producers, and retailers have declared that they do not want to use products from cloned animals or their offspring. The dairy industry has said that there is no consumer benefit in cloning. Cloning animals just for the different benefits is merely selfish, according to many food industries. Artificially creating animals because it creates more milk, more meat, and consumes less ruins the whole point of individuality, even among animals.
This is a preview file.